evening. It's Captain Chris Ludford of Pleasure House Oysters, and I'm out here with Lynnhaven River NOW, and we are on the Lynnhaven River. We've got some fresh oysters we just pulled from the water, and we're going to talk a little about shucking. We're going to do a hinge shuck today. It's generally the safest type of way to shuck an oyster. It's your average run-of-the-mill oyster. You got our oyster knife. You want to set that down, preferably wearing a glove, or you can use a dish towel to hold the oyster. And you take your knife, you want to get right in that hinge, and you just get in there and give it a little twist, and then it pops in. You can see it's free, all right? But we're not done. But what I want to do is sweep around, turning the oyster a little bit, and I want to cut that adductor muscle. The adductor muscle is what holds the two halves together, and you'll be able to see it here in just a second. There it is. Now we've got our oyster. We're going to pretty it up a little bit. Now the oyster, beautiful, full of liquor. We haven't lost any of the liquor. What a great shuck, but we're not done. We take our knife then, and we have to cut the adductor muscle on the bottom side of the oyster. We cut that away, make sure the oyster is free floating, so that when the person eating the oyster tips the oyster back, the oyster doesn't get stuck. We want that oyster to float freely from the shell. So, got a little liquor, we taste. Oh yeah, and then perfect shuck. People often ask me what makes a Lynnhaven oyster so special, and it's the flavor, the legend. The legendary part of the oyster, the Lynnhaven, is the size and the flavor. They're not too salty, but they're briny. They also have a sweet flavor. They don't have a very metallic flavor like oysters that you'd find farther up the bay, closer to the James and places like that. So it's a very sweet oyster, has a nice finish, and it's just a famous oyster. It was the first oyster that was eaten in the New World, and it was demanded on plates from New York to Europe. They shipped them overseas in the 1700s, 1800s, in barrels with the water from the Lynnhaven River. It's just an incredible story. So a lot of it is lore and legend, but when it gets down to it, it's just a great tasting oyster. Clean and healthy waterways are essential. The oyster is the canary in the coal mine, if you will. Oyster is the gatekeeper, and it's also the bellwether and the indicator of clean water. So when we have clean water and we have a great ecosystem, we can eat the oysters. If the waterway is not clean, or there's been historic pollution, or there's problems, then those waters are what we call condemned, and you can't eat them. So we're very much married to clean water and the environmental concerns shared by Lynnhaven River NOW, who we consider a partner. When they need something, we try to help as much as we can, and they are really the local stewards and the local investors in clean water and the clean environment. And what that does is allow me to continue my business and make a profit, make money. I can't make money without selling oysters, and I have to have clean water to harvest and sell oysters. Lynnhaven River NOW has been a great partner for us and for the river and the watermen of the river from day one. Every year we've seen increases in the amount of river open to harvest and the water quality improve. Lynnhaven River NOW formed and pushed for greater water quality standards. They built partnerships with the local government, the education of the community, and now we're sitting at about half of the river open to harvest. So it's an incredible accomplishment, and Lynnhaven River NOW has been instrumental in that from day one.
Thank y'all very much. For more Perfect Jones, it's been a pleasure and an honor. Thank you.